Your body is the vessel in which you live your life, and from what the Bible says, it's your temple. The Bible and every health magazine you can find urges you to take care of your body as best as you can. Without a healthy, functioning body, there are many things a person cannot do in their life, and the doctor office bills will be massive. Parents closely monitor what their kids intake, and nowadays with the gluten-free diet and paleo diets, many believe they're doing better than the people who came before them. However, what if I told you that a large percentage of the food you eat has an addictive sugar substitute that is generally not good for the consumer? The main issue with this additive is the fact that it is in everything. Most companies use this substitute instead of sugar because it's cheaper. This substitute is called high fructose corn syrup, and I'm here to tell you why America should follow the trend of other countries and stop using it in food or monitor it. High fructose corn syrup is a sweetener made from processed cornstarch. Starches are made of long chains of linked sugars, and high fructose corn syrup is produced by breaking down the starch into a syrup made of the sugar glucose. Manufacturers then add enzymes to the substance to convert some of the glucose into fructose, which tastes much sweeter than it would have before. Normal cane sugar comes from sugar cane, whereas high fructose corn syrup, as the name states, is corn-based. The difference between corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup is that corn syrup is 100% glucose, whereas high fructose corn syrup is 50% glucose, 50% fructose. So glucose can be broken down and used for energy by every cell in the body. However, fructose can only be broken down by your liver cells in the body. One of the things that happens with fructose once the liver cells break it down is it becomes a form of fat. And it isn't like sugar, because sugar is a single compound ingredient, and high fructose corn syrup is a multiple compound ingredient, making it very difficult to the body to understand and to digest. High fructose corn syrup was developed from corn in the late 1950s, refined for industrial production in the 1970s, and introduced into processed foods from 1975 to 1985. A big dietary and nutritional change that went largely unnoticed over the past 35 years. If this shows you anything, it was developed in a lab, not grown and milled. There's a long process that corn goes through to become high fructose corn syrup. Partially because of it being made in the lab, high fructose corn syrup is significantly cheaper than sugar, and this explains why the U.S. uses it constantly. Unlike the U.S., the United Kingdom currently has banned high fructose corn syrup from being used in its country. They rely on sugar instead, and quite a few other countries either have banned it, are currently banning, or strictly monitor the intake of high fructose corn syrup in their country. High fructose corn syrup would not be bad if it was taken in moderation. However, our society has decided to put it in everything we eat. Here's just a short list of things that contain high fructose corn syrup: ketchup, applesauce, crackers, steak sauce, relish, oatmeal, cold cuts, canned fruit, peanut butter, juice, snack or oatmeal bars, cereal, flavored milk, mayo lookalikes, salad dressing, canned soup, flavored yogurt, canned cranberry sauce, canned tomato sauce, cottage cheese, bread, iced tea, pickles, soda, candy, frozen junk food, boxed dinners, granola bars, store-bought baked goods, coffee, creamer, energy drinks, sports drinks, jam, and ice cream. These are just the main foods that contain high fructose corn syrup. However, there are many more that were not listed. All this to say that it is very hard in this day and age to eat something that does not include high fructose corn syrup. Many people say that because sugar and high fructose corn syrup are made of similar things, they must be equally as bad for you. However, this is false, and there are many ways that it has been proven that high fructose corn syrup is much worse for you than sugar. The first thing to address is moderation. Sugar can be bad for you, obviously, but everything is better when eaten in moderation. Meaning, because high fructose corn syrup is literally in everything, it already has a leg up on sugar, because sugar is in less than high fructose corn syrup is. We have gone from 20 teaspoons of sugar a year to consuming 150 pounds of sugar or high fructose corn syrup a year. Also, since in the last 35 years, high fructose corn syrup made such a large impact on food, this is why consumption has gone up compared to the consumption of sugar. Back before high fructose corn syrup was a thing, sugar was naturally found in fruits and certain foods, but it was only used very lightly in other types of foods, whereas now high fructose corn syrup is in almost everything it could possibly be in. 2 out of every 3 Americans is overweight, and 70% of children aged 5 to 17 are overweight, and 17 are obese. 34% of adults are obese, and 64% are at least overweight. These numbers are staggering, and a lot of these severe health issues could be blamed on the rise of high fructose corn syrup usage in the past 35 years. By the way, the University of Princeton did a experiments on the effects of high fructose corn syrup on lab rats, and it resulted in obesity, organ failure, and fatality. Since the introduction of high fructose corn syrup, type 2 diabetes is on the rise amongst people. The main reason they believe high fructose corn syrup is the leading factor in obesity in America is due to how it is processed in the body. Fructose doesn't stimulate insulin secretion. It doesn't increase leptin production or suppress production of ghrelin. That suggests that consuming a lot of fructose, like consuming too much fat, could contribute to weight gain. High fructose corn syrup acts more as a fat than a sugar does, and it does not release leptin, which is the hormone that releases and tells our body to stop eating because it's full. Obesity is not the only health risk that high fructose corn syrup has been known to give. A study was done on animals where they consumed large amounts of high fructose corn syrup, and here are some of the health side effects they faced. Induced insulin resistance, impaired glucose tolerance, produced high levels of insulin, boosted a dangerous fat in the blood, caused high blood pressure, and increased the risk of heart disease. This list is terribly long and is full of a few serious things. They've even found links to certain types of cancers due to excessive high fructose corn syrup consumption. The high insulin levels caused by sugar could also fuel tumor growth. In addition to inflammation, excess fructose may also increase harmful substances called advanced glycation end products, which may harm your cells and make you age faster. Another huge thing to remember is that high fructose corn syrup is manufactured and created in a lab. Thus, there will be some negative byproducts. Besides the ginormous load of pure fructose and sugar found in high fructose corn syrup, as an added bonus, it contains other chemical toxins. Chemical contaminants used during manufacturing end up in the high fructose corn syrup and in our food. What we know, for example, is that chloralkali is used in making high fructose corn syrup. It contains mercury, and there are trace amounts of mercury found in high fructose corn syrup containing beverages. Now, it may not be a problem if we eat this occasionally, but the average person in the country consumes more than 20 teaspoons a day of high fructose corn syrup, and the average teenager has 34 teaspoons a day. Over time, these heavy metals can accumulate in the body, causing health problems. Additionally, when we look at the chemical components of high fructose corn syrup on a spectrograph, we can see that it contains many weird chemicals that we know nothing about, which is very unnerving when you think about it. So when you all hear all this, all that you think is, why is this still all in my food, and why do we not know much about this? Honestly, the best answer I have is that it's cheap and easily manufactured and sold. And as a fellow consumer, this does not feel like a good enough reason to sell and intake this on almost a daily basis in high quantities. Sadly, it does not seem like anytime soon high fructose corn syrup will be banned in the U.S. Many are working on getting this passed, but until then, it's all a personal job. Here are some tips on how to live a life that cuts high fructose corn syrup out of your diet. The first thing to do is to give up all soft drinks and other sweetened beverages that contain it. Then start checking labels meticulously. Even products that are not thought of as sweet often contain it. If you see this ingredient on a label, I guarantee you the food is processed. So if high fructose corn syrup is anywhere on the label, put it back on the shelf. You should never eat this food. If you want to stay healthy, lose weight easily, get rid of chronic disease, and help reduce the obesity epidemic, the single most important thing you can do is eliminate high fructose corn syrup from your diet and from kids' diets. Just banish it from your house. And when looking for a replacement for high fructose corn syrup, raw honey is one of the number one replacements. Taking care of yourself and your family is necessary to live a fuller life, and losing high fructose corn syrup is the first step.